My Gavanen Melonin, and well met indeed. I am Arachir Galajerthan, the head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer, and welcome back to Divide and Conquer as we show off a second developer diary in the progress towards Gundabad, and just in general. And I wanted to start on this screen just to show you a few of the minor changes. The first, of course, being that Gundabad now has to destroy the Dwarves of Erebor, the Dwarves of Eredluin, and the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm in order to win a long game. And a short game, they need only defeat Erebor, which is a cool little addition. Secondly, you will note that the maps are now accurate. As we flick through those and it makes the thud sound, the maps now actually reflect the new nations, and you can see the starting regions there. And a cool little feature that I always enjoy is that if you click on the Aradanaim, it swaps to you being roamless or homeless, whereas with everyone else, they start as they start. Additionally, Khazad-dûm also have the same feature. Although you will note that it is ever so slightly black there, and I'll just hold my hands up and say that I can make that edit, but I forgot to, and it would mess it up if I were to try and edit it now. So do note that shows KD. I shouldn't have drawn attention to it, that was stupid. Anyway, on to the campaign map, and we'll talk about a question that the rest of you are going to ask, and I'm going to say yes to. So see you in just one moment. Welcome to the campaign map with Gundabad, and the answer to the question was, of course, yes, and the question was, hold on, Galu. But in the last episode, you showed Gundabad starting with Danes Halls and Rakuberg, but now they only start with Gundabad, and the answer to that, as I say, is yes. We have changed it to be so. If you play as the Dwarves of Erebor, then Gundabad will get Onazanar, Danes Halls, and Rakuberg by turn 2. They will start with Onazanar and Gundabad, and on the turn 1 auto expansion, they'll get Danes Halls and Rakuberg. If you play as anyone else, cover as many as we can there in that little scroll, then Gundabad will get just Danes Halls and Rakuberg in the turn 1 auto expansion. They only get a Nazanar if you play as Erebor. If you play as Gundabad, as we are doing here, they only get Gundabad. And there it is in all its glory. There have been a couple of extra changes. The purple colour scheme has been ditched entirely, and they now have a slight red outline. They have a red gate symbol on the flag. They have red on the banner symbol with a grey background now, and a white or grey ultimate background and a white background on the shield. And if we pull one of our generals out of Gundabad, out of the fort, they have the white banner hovering over their forts, which is good. You will, however, still note there aren't any UIs yet, but the army has also been set up. So that is actually Marauder Chief Glugnak's army. Additionally, the bodyguards are relatively set now as well, with Warlord Muzul having Bolg's champions, which is a unit that's yet to be edited. Marauder Chief Glugnak currently has Mountain Guard, as does Hak Thak. Now, I'm tempted, and I'll discuss this with my teammates, about giving Marauder Chief Glugnak Orc Avengers. But this unit is so OP that I'm not entirely certain we should give it to a general. It's a really rare unit, and that's why we're allowed it to be so OP. But anyway, those are the various bits and bobs there. You will, of course, also note that permanent winter has been brought to the north. So similarly to how RK had made that radiant, or the radial design of the snow coming from Khazad-dûm, we've adapted that and stretched it all the way out along to cover Gundabad. And as you can see, it's creeping down the mountain passes there, covering the snow, the Grey Mountains and the northern peaks of the Misty Mountains act as a barrier to the cold, so it only reaches up their northern face and is blocked off from the southern side, which brings permanent winter, as I say. I've also, an absolutely minor point that no one will really notice, but I changed this tree type. It used to look like the trees that you get in Mordor, that tree just there, which looks kind of like Tyranid pylons reaching out of the ground. They're not called pylons, they're called something else, but I can't remember the name because I hate the Tyranids. Anyway, and now it looks like a normal conifer tree, which is good, because that tree that I just showed you, when it has this dense forest, which is impassable, as you can see, you can't actually walk through it, it just displays like a horrible black textureless bug because that tree's not designed to be in this sparse tree space, in this dense tree, sorry. So it looked a bit weird. So we've changed it to the conifers, but that's, again, a minor point. Additionally, Gundabad has now been fleshed out, and these are what we have gone with. Obviously, I asked what should the unique building of Gundabad be, and people said you should make it the Great Gate or some sort of cavern, and I went with both. So, Gundabad themselves can use the Great Gates of Gundabad. You will train Bolg's champions from here, your diplomat will come from here, and otherwise it's just a minor boost style building. It's nothing game-changing. A couple of extra units of upkeep and a bonus to law. And then you have the Ruined Hall of Awakening. Oh, I would also encourage you to read the descriptions because... narcissism alert, I wrote them and I'd love to hear your feedback. Gundabad, Gates of Gundabad, and the Ruined Hall of Awakening, which for the orcs does not do very much. It increases tradable goods and it gives a morale bonus to troops trained here by 2. And it is just a ruined cavern, and it took me ages to find a picture that I actually liked, and in the end I settled on that one. But those are the 2 unique buildings. Feel free, as I say, to pause it and read that and let me know what you think of it. It's been a while since I've been at the crease, to coin a cricket term, but of course at the pen, to coin a writer's term. Additionally, there is another building that has joined the forces of Gundabad, which hopefully I can show you in the building browser, the Avengers Guild. Yes, I can. The Avengers Guild is where the Orc Avengers will come from, but it does more than that. Stay tuned. Unfortunately, I don't have the visuals to complete this part of the video, but that'll make sense in a moment. But I can tell you what it will do. So the first tier of the Avengers Guild, which again I would encourage you to read because again I wrote them, and I would again like feedback. It gives a melee weapon bonus, and it trains Orc Avengers, which, as I say, are not yet ready. They haven't got their UI, but the unit is actually in the battle, and I'll show you the battle map in a moment. So you get Orc Avengers. They have a 14 attack, a 10 charge at the moment. They are armor piercing, and they are outfitted in Dwarven heavy mail and plate. They're a very powerful unit, but very rare. So that's tier 1. The Avengers Guild is only available to Gundabad, so you can get the 3rd tier. The 2nd tier, the Avengers Headquarters, still only gives a melee weapon bonus in Avengers, but now they come with an extra experience. This is just really a stopover to the 3rd tier where it starts to really get good. And feel free again to have a read and let me know. If you see any spelling errors as well, do shout out. Do of course remember that I am English, and so if you see a word like neighbour or armour or defence and it is not spelled how you would spell it, that's probably because you're American and you don't spell them correctly, the right way. Anyway, 3rd tier, Bolg's Chamber. Of course, Bolg is famous for leading the army of Gundabad in the Battle of 5 Armies. And so Bolg is very much the hero of Gundabad, and Azog has been made the hero, if you will, of Moria, because that is where he was the leader, and that is where he died. So Azog has been moved to Moria. Anyway, the 3rd tier, Bolg's Chamber, gives you what all of you asked for, which is tier 4 smithing. Now, what we can do is change the name of this, and we will. And to give you a clue of what the units are going to look like, the new armour level is going to be called Scavenged Dwarven Steel. And that will be the armour upgrade. And now this will be a tier 4, as I say, so your Snow Orc units, your Black Shield units, your Bodyguard, your Bolg's Champions, and your Pale Uruks will all get this upgrade, because Gundabad, as a rule, has very low armour stats, which means that tier 4 is actually available to every unit you have, which indicates how low your armour starts with anyway. But also then, of course, it gives you Orc Avengers, but no change to them. It's the addition of the armour value. Now remember that both of the 2nd buildings, the Avengers Headquarters and Bolg's Chamber, they can only be built in one place, and this one upgrades from that one. So you'll be able to get the Avengers Guild in Dwarven settlements. So to run that through, that's Kirig Gathol, Erebor, Anazanar, Daneshalls. I did give it to Gundabad because why not? It's not for Kharndum, it's not for Goblin Town, it is in Zagkala, and it is in Western and East Moria. But also, if you should go that way, you can also get it in Thorin's Halls, Gahuzanar, and Faham Gathol. So that's where you can get the guild. But only one location will get those 2nd tiers. So you won't be able to get tier 4 smithing for your entire army. It will be quite rare. And also the Avengers are therefore quite rare because you won't get them everywhere. Now, in an interesting little side note, I was delving into how the guilds work, and the Avengers Guild is very difficult to get, and you'll be able to get it by, number one, you get a big point boost towards it if you declare war on Khazad-dûm or Ered Luin. Secondly, if your nation borders a region that has over 80% Dwarven culture, you get a big bonus towards the Avengers Guild. If you border a region that has over, I think it's 50 Dwarven culture, I programmed it only yesterday and I can't even remember. If it's over 50 Dwarven culture, then that region that borders the region with over 50 culture will get a significant boost towards the Avengers Guild there. Otherwise, you get it by building blacksmiths and building barracks, and that is it. That's how you get your Avengers Guild. So that, I think, is the bulk of what I was going to discuss. I showed you Zagkala, I think, last time. Oh no, Zagkala has now been added to the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. Oh, of course, no, there are changes here, sorry. Zagkala has been added to the Misty Mountains since we last spoke. And additionally, the northern region of what was the Hills of Ruidour has been given back to Camath Bryn, which has been renamed as Ruidour Uplands. Morvatarth has been moved from the western edge of Etten Moors into the centre, and now protected slightly by a river, which gives it a bit of a boost. And the region that was there has been moved south to the Loud Water Fields, and Bruinost is its name, which literally just means Town of the Bruinen, or Bruinen Town. And the Misty Mountains, as you will see, start, if you are playing as them, with Khazad-dûm West, Anon Enorod, Zagkala, and you get Khazad-dûm East if you're playing Misty Mountains, or Moria as they are now called. If the AI is playing as them, and I were to end turn, for example, they would take both Bruinost and Ostinethiel in the turn 1 auto expansion. And if you play as Imladris, Anduin, and we'll program it later, Khazad-dûm, they will also get Goblin Town. So they're not hugely nerfed if you are one of those nations. But Moria we have not done any work on yet really at all. And at the moment our testers are happily reporting that they're very weak. Which we knew. But we're grateful for the feedback. But we haven't done any work to them yet anyway. And finally, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is related to the dwarves. So first of all, just to show you, when you play as Erebor, you get a Nazanar, or the forces of Gundabad get a Nazanar at turn 1, and when you end turn, they'll also get Daintools and Rakibo. But what I wanted to show you is the last little cool feature for Gundabad, and that is that if you take this as a dwarven nation, then in the building browser, at the bottom, you will find the Hall of Durin. Now this is an upgrade to the ruined Hall of Awakening, and as you will see from the cost there, it costs hardly anything, but it takes a long time to build. And this gives quite the boost to the dwarves. It gives a public order bonus of 15%, retraining cost of -40, boost in tradable goods, free upkeep, and the Hammers of Gundabad with 2 experience. But the Hammers of Gundabad are going to be updated. They are going to become the dwarves' best unit, absolutely hands down. We are going to redo them to give this location, and the fact that Gundabad is now its own nation, we need the dwarves retaking it to be more important than it previously was. And so the Hammers of Gundabad are going to be adjusted to become the finest dwarven unit the game has. So at the moment it's them, but it will be changed. They'll be called something like Sons of Durin, or Durin's, not chosen because we use that word too much, but Durin's, I don't know, maybe even Durin's Hammers, or I like the name Sons of Durin, but then that treads on the toes of Sons of the Fallen a little, so I don't know. But anyway, again, so that's what you'll get from the Hall of Durin. And again, I would ask that you have a little read of that and let me know what you think, because that one I was quite pleased with, I must confess. I love writing the stuff. I absolutely love writing the stuff. Writing the descriptions and things. But anyway, that is the campaign map side changes for Gundabad primarily so far. Again, everything is subject to tweaking. We're literally 2 weeks into our Gundabad project, or not even that. I think we're about a week in. It just happens that these developer diaries can be over 2 weeks. So obviously not much has changed, but talking about a few other miscellaneous things, just a minor point. Number one is that Ruba, Elgar, Mataram, Enmahath, and Bura Monarchis and Lest have all been given slightly larger garrisons, so it's harder for a human rune player to abuse them. Additionally, the Sea of Rune has lost quite a few resources on the northeast and south sides to try and curb late game rune offensive power. But that's about it, actually, in terms of miscellaneous changes this time. Not much else really has gone down, I don't think. Oh, no, sorry, there is one other change for Imladris. Imladris' garrison and starting armies have been cut. Dornan Austin, who started in that fort there and is somewhat famous amongst the game, he is gone completely. And Imladris itself has lost both units of Tolka's Faithful that it used to start with. So the army at Imladris has been reduced. That fort has also been made a Gondorian fort rather than a barbarian fort. Another little minor change. But that's it. Those are the changes on the campaign map. So Gundabad getting thoroughly fleshed out and getting really ready to rock and roll. And speaking of rocking and rolling, let's go and have a look at their battle map. Welcome then to Gundabad's battle map. Now what I didn't do last time, which was an error, and I should have done, was shown you their entire proposed roster. Because we had obviously 1,000,001 people asking for snow trolls when we had actually already given snow trolls to Gundabad. So that is one thing to note. But I'm not going to go through and give you a detailed overview like a faction overview. I'm here to show you a couple of visual changes and just the roster as it lies at the moment. And you will note we've still got an awful lot of work in terms of UI to do. But first of all, the Mountain Orc Hunters are going to be given to Gundabad. They've been ever so slightly buffed and they're available in any mountain region now. Not just the Misty Mountains, they are now available in any mountain region. Secondly, you also, as I say, you do get Snagger. Snagger Stalkers, Snagger Skirmishers and Snagger Archers. So you do still get some trash. These 5 units, because I'm also including the Warg Marauders really, should move them forward. Oh, of course, I've got it on ×1, haven't I? So I can't move them around. They are the units that Gundabad is borrowing, along with the Snow Trolls. Everything else is being created for them, so we've had to create quite a few unit slots, as you can see. But the other point to note, first visual change, is that Hummingbird has given the Gundabad Snagger units lighter skin. It's very difficult to see it really when they're out here like this, but if I were to compare them side by side with a Moria Snagger unit, you would note quite a lighter tone in their skin, going along with the Pale Orc theme. Snow Orcs are unchanged, although they do now have, if we actually have to pause it to do that, they do now have a description. And again, feel free to have a read, because again, I wrote them, and I would again welcome your feedback. So pause it and have a read through if you want. The bottom line there is very minor and just says what weapon they actually have. The top bit there is the same for all 3, and then it's only the bottom that is changed. But aside, a quick point to note is that, of course, Snow Orc Scouts, by the way, the stats have been set up. So these are the stats that we are proposing. If you want to query those, go for it. Snow Orc Scouts, it does mention that they are some of the best archers than in terms of orcs going. But they aren't as good as the Black Shields. Warg Marauders remain completely unchanged, save for, of course, they've got the white wargs here and there throughout the roster, and Hummingbird plans to lighten their skin as well to reflect this cold northern pale orc roster. Now, the Black Shields have been changed, and I absolutely love their new design, and I hope that you will too. But this is the new design for the Black Shields. No longer do they look similar to the Snow Orcs. They now stand completely apart and have completely black shields. And I think they look incredible. Now, they are reasonably armoured, but if you do look close, it only covers their chest. They don't wear leg armour. They haven't got anything on their arms, nothing on their feet. So they're not overly armoured, given that their stats aren't outrageous in terms of armour at only 7. Now again, their description has been created, and again, I would love it if you had a read and told me what you thought. And again, the bottom bit is just the difference between the various units. So there's Snow Orc Spears, or they're not called that was the unit before. Black Shield Warband are the Spears, Black Shield Warriors are an axe and shield unit, and then Black Shield Archers are the Archers. And again, it says in the Archer one that they're the best Orc Archers going, basically. They are formidable archers. They have a high accuracy, which is a hidden stat, and they have human accuracy, not orc accuracy. You'll note there we've still got some bits and pieces to add at the bottom there, but they are, for all intents and purposes, set up with a 6 missile. You do read that correctly. And finally, now this is the change that I think most people are going to absolutely love, and I think this looks incredible, and I hope you do too. But bowing to pressure, we've added a design that is inspired by the films, and they are the Pale Uruks. And there they are, standing before you. Pale Uruks, of course, taking inspiration from Azog's name, although he is not present in this faction. That is a formidable looking unit, and very much based on the Games Workshop design for the Gundabad Uruks. They are just very good sword and shield units, and again have a read of their stats. And again, I would love it if you read this one, because it took me an awful long time to write it. They're quite lengthy, actually. I've probably made them too long, really. But do have a read. Do let me know what you think. The half trolls have been reduced in size, so there's fewer of them now. They're still, of course, placeholders. Orc Avengers, as I say, their stats have been given. Their stats have been set, and you've already seen them from the previous episode. Do note, someone asked, can you give them dwarven weapons? And Hummingbird's response was, I already have. They wear scavenged armour, which means that not every piece they find is suitable to be worn, and they're nowhere near intelligent enough to replicate dwarven armour, but they can patch it up and wear it. So only a few units have dwarven weapons, and in the same way that only actually a few units have full dwarven plate, which is a really good touch. And finally, Bolg's Champions, which is a placeholder at the moment. Do not worry about the visuals. They have been changed to halberds. They're no longer shield and spear. So Hummingbird has given them a placeholder halberd unit to reflect that for the time being. And as I say, Snow Orcs or Snow Trolls are present for Gundabad, so there they are lining up in your roster. And finally, the Bodyguard unit has been tweaked ever so slightly at the moment, but we're still in the process of changing this unit. Certainly the shield will absolutely change, and I'm petitioning Hummingbird to change the unit entirely. I don't think that unit looks elite enough, given that the bodyguards are supposed to be, other than the Pale Uruks, they're meant to kind of be the best of the best. And I don't feel like at the moment they actually truly reflect that. Even though their stats are actually better than Pale Uruks, they don't necessarily have a design that I think goes along with it. I think the Uruks look far more elite, and even the black shields are looking, I think, just more iconic, more unique, and certainly more elite than the Mountain Guard. Some of you who play Reforged will recognise this unit because it is taken wholesale from Reforged, where I think they are the Gundabad Guard in Reforged. And Hummingbird has tweaked with the textures and the colours, but nothing really else. And so we're just looking to change them up. And the final thing before we then break and end is, as I say, the Avengers Guild at the 3rd tier will give you a 4th armour upgrade for all the units except the Snagger, the Mountain Hunters, the Wild Marauders and the Trolls, including Half Trolls, who also have their own description now if you want to have a read of that. And again, let me know what you think. I've done a description for every unit that was missing one. So there's the Half Troll one. Bolg's Champions also have a description now as well, which is going to be difficult for me to pause for you. Although, actually, no, I'm not sure I have edited that one yet. I think I just tweaked minor bits about it. Yeah, no, I didn't. I just edited little bits. I haven't actually done that one from scratch. The Orc Avengers, however, I did do from scratch. And feel free again to have a read. And pause where you wish. So anyway, so that's the roster, and then as I say, the 4th tier of the Avengers Guild will give Snow Orcs, Pale Uruks, Gundabad, or Bolg's Champions, Mountain Guard, which is the name of your bodyguard, and Black Shields, a armour variant of the Orc Avengers armour. But they won't have as much Dwarven plate, and certainly the Snow Orcs will only have Dwarven chainmail, and there'll only be a few of them that actually wear it. It won't be a wholesale change to their armour design. The Black Shields, Uruks, and Bolg's Champions will get the odd bit of plate, but not, again, loads. The Orc Avengers will still be the most most prolific use of Dwarven plate. The others will just get the odd unit wearing it, just to reflect that change is there, and I think it's going to be excellent. But anyway, there we are. That is the kind of battle overview, if you will, for Gundabad. And there they are up against one unit of Gondor Militia, which is what I always used to do the testing. But anyway, there we are. So let me know what you think. Let me have any thoughts that you want at this stage. Everything is open to tweaking. And I hope you're enjoying Gundabad's development as much as I am. But until we speak again, dear friends, Navar Naden Pedamad Melonin, and farewell.